If two ratios are equal, then we say that they are in proportion to each other. A proportion is a statement that two ratios are equal in value. For example, 1/3 equals 3/9. Those have the same value, even though they're different ratios. And if you have two ratios in proportion, then you are allowed to use cross products. We usually think of that as A times D is equal to B times C. That's a cross product. So that leads us to this equation, AD equals BC. The problem is that you can only use cross multiplication when there are two ratios in proportion or equal to each other. It doesn't work if you have, say, another part like another term there. Then you do not have ratios in proportion, only if you have one ratio equal to another ratio. So can we tell by doing cross products in our head if these ratios are in proportion? For example, A 2/3 equals 6/10. So if I multiply across like that, 2 times 10 should be the same thing as 3 times 6. So 20 equals 18. That's a no. Those are not equivalent, so those ratios are not in proportion to each other. That's a false statement. For example, B 5/7 equals 7/10. So multiply across. 50 equals 49. It's close, but no, those ratios are not in proportion to each other. But if you looked at that one that we saw at the beginning, 1/3 equals 3/9, that is a true proportion because 1 times 9 equals 3 times 3. So that would be in proportion. So we're going to use the fact that ratios in proportion are have equal cross products to solve some equations here. So our first example, we're going to take across 3 times x equals across 8 times 63. And 8 times 63 is 504. So then I'm going to solve for x. Just need to divide 3 from both sides so that x equals 504 divided by 3, which is 168. So that's what that variable should be to make that those ratios in proportion. The next one looks a little bit more complicated. Okay, so since there's more than one term, I'm going to make sure to lock those up as factors and multiply across. So 5 times 2x plus 1 is equal to 7 times x minus 3. And so I need to use the distributive property to remove parentheses. 5 times 2 is 10 times x. And another term, 5 times 1 is 5. On the other side of the equal sign, 7 times x is 7x. And 7 times negative 3 minus 21. So I can see that this is a linear equation because the exponents of the variables are just 1. So I'm going to get the variable terms on the same side by oppositing the 7x. Subtract 7x from both sides, then I'll have 3x plus 5 on the left, minus 21 on the right. Then I want my number terms to be on the same side, so subtract 5 from both sides of the equal sign. And I have 3x equals negative 26. Then I just need to divide 3 from both sides to get just x on the left and negative 26 thirds on the right. I can definitely check that in the equation to make sure that that's true and that is my solution to the equation.